The four major minhagim that basically Sfardim in this country do around this time of year, the High Holy Day minhagim, that are against the Shulchan Aruch. Especially proud people. Like we always take the Shulchan Aruch except when we don't. So let's talk about that. What are the four major minhagim that are not Shulchan Aruch, that range from the Shulchan Aruch, rejected them, whatever, but wasn't so wrong, and those that are actually forbidden or approach the forbidden. Okay, what's the Kaparot is the forbidden one, very good. The uncensored versions of the Shulchan Aruch actually prohibit it. Not to say that's not to do it, but he said, usher.
Planting grains.
Planting grains? No, I don't know about planting grains. Yeah, tashlich. Okay, that's another one. Good. Yeah, the Ramah mentioned the Shulchan Aruch was aware of tashlich. He had all those Geonim who write about such a thing also. Just like the Shulchan Aruch addresses, the Beis Yosef addresses kaparos. I think it's I'm looking for the smoking gun proof, but I find it unimaginable that the Beis Yosef was completely unaware of tashlich. He was aware of all these other minhagim, but he never heard of tashlich. But that's not something he accepted. And what else? Think more Rosh Hashanah technical things. My own personal favorites.
Right? Number of times last for the Shofar.
Yes, and
I look at 30 times.
No, Shulchan Aruch it's 40.
40.
And he allows for 60. And then it's a trua. So 40 Ikar Adin, 60 strange minhag, and an extra true Geula at the end, but that's just as a symbol that it's over. Okay, good.
That's from the
What?
That's from the Ryan the
Yeah. We Ashkaz. No, it has also to do with the shofar. The act of performing the mitzvah. And here's how it goes. The Shulchan Aruch was against, halachically speaking, the sounding of the shofar during the silent Shmoneh Esrei. Like the Mishnah Berurah says, it should not be done. It's a strange minhag that was rejected out of hand by the halachic tradition. It seems to be also rejected by the Mishnah. How do we know to sound the shofar during Chazaras HaShatz? The basic understanding of the Mishnah is chever ear. You sound the shofar al siddur brachos bechever ear. Chever ear is what the Rambam calls tefillas hatzibur, when one person is reciting Shmoneh Esrei out loud as a public prayer, and sometimes also to discharge the prayer obligation of the others. On Rosh Hashanah, this is special. Why? Every other Chazaras HaShatz that we have during the year, if you have people who are literate, they have a siddur, they were able to say Shmoneh Esrei, so the Chazan is not discharging their obligation to pray. Now they're just forming a tzibur and praying together. Okay, we have to salute everybody, but first finish this thought. But on Rosh Hashanah, it's a unique form of Shmoneh Esrei, and most people are unfamiliar with it. It's quite long. We don't say it that often. So in this case, the Chazan, the Shatz, discharges the obligation for all those who are listening along with him. Make sense? So you're not supposed to sound the shofar. The Mishnah Berurah is actually opposed to it. He says places that don't do it should not adopt this minhag because it's confusing and it's not what the halacha recommended. You could go through basically name your rishon. They did not believe in this idea that the shofar should be sounded during Chazarat HaShatz. Tosfos has it. The Aruch believed in such a thing. The Aruch has a strange minhag that was basically rejected by the Geonim and the Rishonim. The only question was how to blow the shofar during Chazarat HaShatz. We discussed this in previous times. So you're a little bit stuck with this idea that you sound shofar during Shmoneh Esrei. I have heard. Why is there sirens? Okay. I heard that Rabbi Soloveitchik himself, despite his Litvish upbringing, had the shofar sounded during the sound Shmoneh Esrei where he was in Boston. Now that created a little bit of a difficulty. Why? I've never been in a shul ever where they sound the shofar during sound Shmoneh Esrei. Thank God. I've always been among straight Ashkenazim, yeshiva, or wherever it is, where they only sound the shofar during Chazaras HaShatz. I would imagine, maybe someone correct me if you've been there, if you were davening your personal Shmoneh Esrei, everybody's at their own speed, so you have to stop after Malchios and just wait for whoever's sounding the shofar. So what are you supposed to do? You are in Shmoneh Esrei. You can't interrupt anything. So you have to keep your mind focused, but you can't say anything or do anything. What do you do then? Kind of awkward, right? And you don't want people to go ahead. Look at me. Have you ever done it like that?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't imagine what it's like, and you're telling me that it's a little bit of a hassle. Rabbi Soloveitchik realized this, and apparently, the way I heard it, someone correct me if I'm wrong, he said, I'm going to daven my Shmona Esrei silently, but loud enough so that everybody in Shul could hear where I am, so that you'll all be able to keep at my pace and be able to sound the shofar after Malchiyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot all together. Wait a minute, Rabbi Soloveitchik. So what you're doing is basically skipping silent Shmona Esrei, and you're being the shots for everybody. You might as well just do, for example, like these. They call themselves North Africans. They're really of Moroccan descent. They live down the block from me, and they're mostly Frenchies. But they never have Chazaras shots ever. Shacharis, Mincha, you name it. The Chazan starts the first three brachas of Shmona Esrei. Everybody says the middle ones for themselves. He takes over at Ritzay. He does that Shabbos, Yontif, anything Musaf, whatever it is, unless there's something special in the middle, like Anenu for a fast day or something like that. In which case he says those parts out loud, the part where everybody needs him, and then he continues silent. So that's basically what he was doing. So there's no real reason to do these minhagim. We're going to talk about these exactly. Why was the Shulchan Aruch opposed to sounding the shofar during the silent Shemona Esrei? His halachic tradition was you don't do it. But like we pointed out, and this is something actually kind of funny, you know that idea about taking a breath between the Shvarim and the Trua, Tekiah Shvarim Trua. Anybody hear about Tekiah?
Yeah, it's based on a machlokes.
Based on a machlokes.
Says you should do both.
Well, the Shulchan Aruch mentions it. Basic machlokes is, should you take a breath if you're sounding Tekiah Shvarim Trua? Should you breathe between the Shvarim and the Trua? And we hold like Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam says taking a breath is a good way to go. That way it covers all your bases. If it's supposed to be united sound, so you sounded Shvarim and Trua. But if it's really supposed to be Shvarim, like ideally the true Trua, the biblical Trua is Shvarim or Trua, by interrupting the two, you're saying, well, you're making a Tanai. The Shvarim sound they made before the actual Trua, that's like nothing, it's just noise. You can have breaks between your Tekiyahs and your Truas, even over the course of the whole day, which is on halacha. So if you really had to sound what we call a Trua, so you made a Tekiyah, that's good. And that Shvarim noise you made in the middle is like nothing. And then the Trua that you actually sounded counted, and then you had a Tekiyah afterwards. And you can make a Tanai the other way around. The Shvarim was the little noise, and the Trua was the one that didn't count. There are Rishonim who said, no, you have to unite them, because if it's one united sound, then you have to do it in the same breath. The Shulchan Aruch says, we have a compromise. We sound the first 30 without the breath, and the ones during Chazaras Hashatz with the breath. If you look in the Beis Yosef, he points out in the name of the Trumas Hadesh, the Golden Gaon seizes on this, that specifically, when you repeat the Shemona Esrei, you should have a breath between the Shvarim and the Trua of the Tashrat set. That way, because you're only blowing a that your Tashrat covers all your potential bases. It counts as a Tashrat if necessary, or a Tashat, or a Tarat. That's why the Shulchan Aruch says this. But you know what this means? That if you start sounding after every one of these brachas in Shemona Esrei, Malchios, Zichronos, or Shofros, if you sound Tashrat, Tashat, and Tarat, like most people are doing nowadays, because they've been, what's the word? I think it's hoodwinked, because everybody's been told you have to do the 100. You have to, and if you don't, you're some sort of kofar. You're not Yotze. You're chotel machati. Yeah. Okay, but don't worry. I've been signed by people that yes.
Surely people like that, they know that when they're blowing for women and children, they just do before.
You'd think.
No, that's what my Gemara Rebbe said.
Okay, your Gemara Rebbe. So you have to get more exposure. Okay?
He said that's all you do.
Yeah, no, 30 for anybody who doesn't have Shemona Esrei, and that's the din. But some people aren't aware of the din because Arch World says it, universal minhag. They think that, whatever, we'll talk about this in a second. My point is, once you are sounding, let's say, minhag Arch World or minhag Renat Yisrael, and you only sound the shofar during silent Shemona Esrei, if after every one of these brachas there's Tashrat, Tashat, and Tarat, there's no reason for this hakpada that you breathe between the Shvarim and the Trua. Rabbeinu Tam's hakpada, which was accepted, even though Rabbeinu Tam says a Tashrat after Malchios, a Tashrat after the Shofros, and a Tashrat after the Disronos. I switched the order. The point is, each one of those brachas has a Tashrat, because if you breathe, it covers all your bases. The Beis Yosef tell like the Rambam and Rif, after Tashrat, after Malchios Tashrat, after Zichronos Tashat, and Shofros Tarat, that was still fine. At least that Tashrat you did after Malchios, there should be a breath. That way it could potentially cover what you need to. But once you're blowing everything after every bracha, every potential set of sounds, then there's no reason to take the breath, which means that the practice that, like Aruch says, is universally adopted, has rendered this whole sugya moot. This is a sugya that's across two simanim in the Shulchan Aruch. It's a long post was there. All the Rishonim have what to say about this issue. It's 2 pages in the Beis Yosef, but this sugya has basically been steamrolled. It doesn't exist anymore. Okay, just to point this out. So if you have someone makpid during Chazaras Hashatz, his tashratz, he took a breath, but before Shemon Esrei, he didn't take a breath. Akpada no longer exists if he's doing like it says in the Machzors. So the Shulchan Aruch was opposed to this, and the 100 blast things also very close to my heart because where I came from, just talking about the idea that 100 blasts is not the halacha, even though it shouldn't surprise anybody. Like you're saying, you're supposed to sound 30, and the question is 10 or 12 in Chazaras Hashatz. That's the Ikar Adin according to all the Rishonim. The only Gaon said, like Rabbeinu Tam, 42. I was surprised. I thought I read Rabbi Hamburger that because all the Ashkenazic tradition is like Rabbeinu Tam, 12 blasts in Chazaras Hashatz, so tashma after every bracha, and that's it. Machon Shilo just this week I saw put out a calendar and a machzor, and one of those calendars doesn't have all the zman, it just tells you what the minhagim are for every single day. They mentioned the minhag rif in the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch to sound during Chazaras Hashatz, a total of 10 blasts, tashrat, and then a tashat and a tarat, one after each bracha. And I'm wondering, that's really what they did, and they said, yeah, but this is an official Machon Ashkenaz approved by Rabbi Hamburger document, so maybe no one was proofreading. I don't know. I would have thought they would have stuck to what they usually said, which is, 42. Either way, this 100 blast thing is not Shulchan Aruch. Sounding the shofar during Shemon Esrei is not Shulchan Aruch. Everybody does it. And Tashlich, of course, it's not Shulchan Aruch, and Kaparis isn't. And not only that, this 100 blasts makes it that what? It's a challenge. It used to be, how do we get the 30 blasts? How do we get to that number? Really, you're just supposed to sound the shofar 3 times. Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah. No, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah 3 times. And we're Mesupach. What's the Teruah? So we multiplied it. And it comes out to 30. But that's not the goal. That's what we have to do. It's like a kazayas. The Rambam used to say, all you had to do was eat a kazayas and you've discharged your obligation. And after all this evolution of discrepancies and doubts and everything like that, what happened? The kazayas of matzah became what? The challenge. It's the adventure. Are you able to eat such a large quantity of matzah in such a small amount of time? Right? That's what it became. So too, it was easy to sound the shofar. All you have to do is sound the shofar 30 times before Shemon Esrei, and then a token amount of times during Chazaras Hashatz, and you fulfilled your obligation. But now it became the challenge. Can you get to that 100? And by the way, it's about Tekiah. Has anybody done this before? Sounded all 100? Pushed into service, sound 30, and then 30 during Chazaras Hashatz, and then do another 40 after Tefillah? Well, I've done it. Makes your lips hurt after a while. You could bleed. There was one Rosh Hashanah I was actually bleeding afterwards. It was quite recent. Why do you bleed? Because you have to press against your lips, and the vibrations that you're causing cause it like cut your lip. You know that? And it's not like you could use a reed or something like that. People who know play professional. It becomes a challenge. Have you ever been in shul where the Baal Tekiah is flustered? He's running out of breath or something, and it's like it becomes harder. You're delayed, right? And then like we can't go on until we finish this. Lama davar domeh. Chazal never had this concept that stay up all night studying Torah. Oh, it's good to study Torah all the time. But the challenge, stay up all night. So Shana Rabbah, it's Shavuos. Stay up all night. Does Chazal have such a thing? If you stayed up all night, it means something must have been wrong with you, right? The Rambam says it's not unhealthy. You think the Rambam or Rashi heard of the stay up all night challenge? I'm sure that big Masmidim, like the Vilna Gaon himself, only slept an hour and a half every night. So he slept. He was spending his time studying. Many men wake up extra early and study. But there was never this do not sleep challenge. But for many people, that is their Judaism. On Shavuot, what is the thing you do? You stay up all night. You challenge yourself. And you're even pressured by, let's say, Bashkiach in your yeshiva or whoever it is, who makes you feel bad for not wanting to do it or for not doing it, right? Yes, that's an issue. But I think that there's a bright side on this coming up, and that is Kula Ke'ashan Tichleh. You know, Al, we were talking about replacement theology. was replacement theology, not the Christian one. We're talking about if you do not let Jews do a mitzvah, so what are they going to do? They'll come up with something else, right? If you do not allow the Jews to offer sacrifice, so their primitive brain will want to serve God with sacrifice. What do they do? They're going to start doing kapara, kaparas also, and other things. If you do not allow the Jews to have Aliyah Regel, a pilgrimage, they will create alternative pilgrimages like Meron and Yad Vashem and Uman and the Kotel. If you do not allow Jews, you tell them God wanted them to what? He wanted them to wear talis and tefillin all day as a sign on their, physical signs reminding them of the mitzvahs. So they don't have tefillin on their head all day. So what are they going to do? They're going to wear a yarmulke instead. Yarmulke is not mandated. Yarmulke is garnished. And whenever we mention this fact, we take off our yarmulke just to show that you can continue wearing your yarmulke. You don't have to. But we wear a yarmulke. You should be wearing a tefillin. So we don't wear tefillin replaced with yarmulke. We should have tzitzis that remind us for mitzvahs. Instead, we grow payas longer or something else, or we wear a white shirt all the time. Instead of actually seeing tzitzis with the blue string on them, right?
We wear the tape.
Yeah, we do the other things. If we cannot keep the mitzvah, so we'll create something else. I'm seeing that the second the sacrificial service starts, the good thing is, when we do Korban Tabid finally, you know what's going to happen? A lot of people are going to realize, hey, this whole Tashlich thing, oh, that was a mistake. And the Kaparis thing, Kal V'chomer. I was arguing with someone today who said, Kaparis isn't Shchitas Chutz. You look at the Mishnah Berurah, you look in the Torah, the terminology, what the people are trying to accomplish by slaughtering these chickens is everything having to do with sacrifice. It's all borrowed from Ramban, who was very much in favor of sacrifices and saw that there was all these mystical ideas behind it. And it was also vociferously opposed to kaparas. It says chitas chutz, slaughtering sacrifice outside the temple. It applies even to animals that would normally not be fit for sacrifice. But pater avol aser. If you offer an animal, it's a bal moon or a chicken, so you're not going to get lashed for such a thing. You're not going to be chayav a korban if you're shogeg. Okay, pater avol aser, but it's still aser. Okay, people are finally going to realize when we do the korbanos, they'll say, "Oh, this is what people are trying to accomplish," right? And then they'll stop. Then they'll realize, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing this anymore." And we have Aliyah Regel, God willing, this coming Sukkot. People realize, "Oh, that's where we're supposed to go. That's our pilgrimage place." These other false pilgrimages, people will stop going to those. By the way, Jews need a place to go, not as opposed to going to the Kotel to daven is make it appear or make it seem what I'm saying right now. As a matter of fact, we've davened at the Kotel before, right? Yeah. Last year we go to the Kotel to daven. It's a good place to daven Vasik. Minyanim there. I was just davening there a few weeks ago. That's fine, but it's just another shul, very holy shul. But it's not Har Bayis. Okay, so we're just waiting for this. They'll realize the slaughtering chicken's not what God wants. And by the way, another thing that they do, tashlich. What will replace tashlich? What is that? What does that replace? The scapegoat, seir lazazel. What is supposed to be? The Kohen Gadol is supposed to confess the sins and apparently put all the sins on and ceremoniously send them out and throw them off a cliff, and that's it. And we won't have tashlich anymore. People will realize this. So I'm looking forward to an idea.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.